Welcome everyone. The topic for the day is understanding risk management. We'll speak of everything about the workplace hazard and the risks thereof. What exactly is risk management? It is an uncertain event, an unpredicted event, an uncontrolled event, probably which have more of a negative impact than anything else. So basically this is what risk is all about it. The chances of positive impact being very minimal or probably negligible in the first place. So risk management is the process of identifying, remember, and mitigating risk. What are you mitigating? The negative impact of the risk. So risk is definitely detrimental to the human property, to the human life, to the environmental existence, and so on and so forth. So that is what is risk management. It is an uncertain event. It is a process of identifying and migrating or mitigating the risk. So why exactly is it important? We have to ask this question, why it is important. Remember, risk affects all the aspects of your projects, your budgets, your schedule, your scope, the quality which you're looking into it. So that is the reason why it is important, because your parameters are all set. If you once you have set on your parameters, you might actually be faltering either on the schedule or on the scope of the project or on the cost of the project, or probably the definite quality aims and objective of the project that goes around it. So increase probability of positive event and reduce the occurrence of the negative event. So positively we are going to have an enhanced impact about it, whereas for a negative impact, please understand this is something which we want to go around it. It should be down towards the movement should have to be reduced altogether. So that is what risk is all. So what does it include? It includes planning in terms of managing risk, planning in terms of identifying risk. So these needs to be done. We are to be looking into the analysis part, both in terms of quality and quantity. Quantity will be number of events that might be going the way you might not have planned. It's the quantity. The quality is, even if this is one event that goes wrong, what is the impact? It is the impact minimal, or the impact is maximum and completely devastating. So you need to understand the quality of risk analysis and the quantity of risk analysis. Hope I have been very clear with all the audience of this video what exactly has been meant. So speaking about risk response planning, what is to be done in case there is an imminent visibility of risk happening around it? And when I say imminent visibility of risk, it's the negative or detrimental impact that is going to go around you. So this what we need to go around. How do we respond to it? This is all about monitoring and controlling so that we do not sway from the desired path in our production, in our project management, and be it whatever we are looking at it. How is it done in a project? First and the foremost thing, make risk management an integral part of your project. Definitely, yes. You should always, at every junction, at every notes, always question yourself, what if? What if the situation, the scenario changes in and everywhere? How will you mitigate? How will you develop your response plan? So identifying risk early in the project is more than half the battle won. You know, if you can know what are the potential deviance in your projects, probably you are very well aware of or how to fight off the risk. Then communicate about the risk to all your stakeholders, make them a partner in your approach, consider both the opportunities and the threats thereof, and clarify the ownership issues in case there are certain things that crops up. Who is going to look after it, or who is being going to responsible to reduce or minimize the impact of the reduce altogether. So that is what is to be done in a. So first and foremost, first is you prioritize your risk. Please understand, you all have to prioritize your risk evidently. Then analyze the risk as to what exactly is we talking about it. We are talking in terms of quality and quantity. That is what the analyzing is all about it. Remember, quality is the impact event might happen in your project, and quantity is number of impact that might happen, number of event that might happen. So there might be one event, but it might have a catastrophic impact, and there might be n numbers of events, but all those impact will become very negligible or very minimal. So you can manage them very easily. So you need to analyze the risk accordingly, plan and implement the risk responses. Definitely yes, register project risk as on when on basis, track risk and associate risk to every individual responsible events, you name it, and we can have it. Have all your permutation and combination ready in the form of your responses. Your responses should be absolutely be up to the mark. So register the project risk, track those risks, associate them, and so on and so forth. So let us understand what exactly has been risk in our project management. First is the plan risk of risk management. Identify the risk plan, quant qualitative risk analysis, quantitative risk analysis, plan risk response, and monitoring control tasks. We need to understand what might go wrong. Definitely yes. Please understand this thing. Once you have identify what are those things. So events you can go around it, which are minimal, which are maximum. You are talking about the maximum quality. Remember these Pareto's analysis, that 20% of the risk might cause 80% of the damages, and 80% of the risk might cause only 20% of the damage. So there are n numbers of events. When I say n numbers of events, this is the quantitative factors which might be very minimal impact, or you may mitigate them, you may remove them altogether. And there might be major events which will be far in between and very few, but they might have a resounding effect onto your project. So this is what you got to go around it. In either of the situation, how will you plan your responses? Now first and the foremost way to plan your responses is to monitor the risk, so that the event does not go beyond the control of the project manager. That is, so planning risk management is analyzing and decision making to implement risk management. This is what is very sure about it. Analyze everything and make sure people are responsible to mitigate those risks for in case of this thing arises. Appropriately size and complexity of the project. Please do not make a Himalayan structures with your imagination. Be very realistic. Be very realistic as in what kind of risk can come across it. Then the stakeholders will be provided in planning risk management. Definitely include everybody, all the stakeholders to partner in your risk management process. Definitely we talk about the risk management plan. Now, this is what is very true. We need to schedule risk in terms of a breakdown on a machine. Probably in terms of a high attrition which comes around it. Probably some key person might actually leave your project altogether. So please have succession plan, have regular maintenances, have preventive maintenances. What are the cost risks that can be eliminating? It might be the resources priced would be uh, maybe moving up in the market. As a result, it can jeopardize the budget altogether. So how do you go about it? Then comes the quality risk. The quality risk will tell you exactly what amount of damages that the event might actually cause. The scope risk, this is where you actually see whether your objectives or the targets that has been there for your projects are being met or not, or are you overshooting your target or underachieving your objective. You need to understand those resources, those scope risks. Coming to the resource risk is where availability of manpower, availability of raw material, availability of technology, availability of electricity, availability of money, you name it, we have it, all the resources that is there. If there are any dearth, if there are any surpluses, if there are any thing which is not going according to the plan, it's a risk associated with it, right? And last but not the least is the CSR, or the customer satisfaction risk. Probably you've done best to your abilities within the available resources, what you could have done it, the available budget that you could have done it. But have you given that wow moment to the customers? Are they happy with the outcomes? This is one of those risks that needs to be always we are unsure. So identifying risk, which risk has more probability of affecting the project, is one of the questions that we need to answer. The strength, weakness, opportunities, and threat analysis. This needs to be done at all point of time. Remember, one is an internal environment, internal organization. The other is beyond the organization environment. It's an external environment thing. So we have strength and weaknesses which are part of our internal body, and there are strength and weaknesses which is beyond the organization altogether. So one is inside, one is outside, one is within the capacity of the organization or the project management team, and one is beyond the capacity of the organization of the project management team. This we can have with information gathering, definitely yes. Checklist analysis and assumption analysis, that needs to be taken care of. We need to understand these things time and again we need to go around it. Qualitative risk analysis assess the impact and likelihood of the identified risk. Did I say the quantum of risk that comes around it? Remember, the quantum of risk that can go around. We need to understand this impact altogether. So, what is the quality? Is this going to impact on a very minimum scale, as has been shown on the shaded color? So, then the probability and the impact matrix, which we have already given it to you. The risk categorization, is it in which kind category of risk it going to have it? Is it going to be in terms of functional category that you're looking into it? Is it in terms of the scope category that you're putting into it? Then comes the urgency assessment. Now, this is where you need to understand on your priorities, which requires utmost sincerity and utmost attention of the management and the project team to mitigate such risks. So you need to be very clear with qualitative risk is concerned. Then we come to the quantitative risk analysis. This is all about data gathering, be it direct, be it diagrammatic, and Delphi method. The Delphi method is a method which is worked with the specialist. The specialists are the expert in the field of the desired project. Now you can always consult the expert, have their viewpoint, incorporate upon their viewpoint. You can have counter questions, counter measures that been placed around it. Now, basic idea is what you are gathering data, gathering information, making a sense of it, applying it to the situation that you have it. So, data gathering is Delphi, which is through the expert, direct through your own observation, and diagrammatic of picturizations where you analyze the data at your convenience with your team altogether. So, probability distribution is the quantitative things about the number of impact that comes around it. The modeling techniques is the decision tree analysis. That is what is simply done out here in terms of decision tree. People would be looking into certain kinds of outcome time and again, and we need to understand those decision altogether. Please understand, this is very true, and I'm trying to draw a decision true to yourself. What if analysis is what we are actually talking about. What if one point goes in your favor or against your favor, and there are different kinds of outcome that comes around it. So that is what is decision tree analysis. The sensitivity analysis is which is very true with regard to the project objective, with regard to your stakeholder. We need to understand which is of priority, and last but not the least would be an expert judgment. The expert judgment will actually tell out a person with a vision, or a group of people, or the judges or the experts who will tell it to you as in the eventual impact. The short term impact might not be in favor of the local community, but the eventual long term impact might be completely in favor of the communities per se. So you need to have a sense of balance in terms of quantitative risk analysis is concerned. So plan your responses. Yes, you have to plan your responses. Have a contingency plan to do something if something goes wrong. If possible, please understand the only idea of having the responses is to decrease the impact if you cannot eliminate them. So first and foremost priority is to eliminate the risk, if not decrease their impact. If you still cannot have decreased the impact, can we have an alternative plans in terms of contingency? And that is what we are also doing about the fallback plan. Even if the contingency plan is not getting affected or impacted in a positive fashion, so this is your plan risk. So negative risk threat is to avoid. Yeah, probably definitely best thing and the foremost thing. If everything is going around you wrong in wrong and negative around you, please avoid such kind of situation, because it is draining on your resources, on your effort and your time. If possible, there's a negative risk, transfer them. Can you transfer this? Probably you have to transfer your objective, you might have to transfer your project, you might have to transfer your team, you have to transfer your resources, you name it, and you can go around it. Mitigate them. Can we address it? Can we take the bull by its horn and look for solution which is acceptable to every parties around it? So that is what goes around it. Foremost thing is, and the last thing would be to accept that there is something which you cannot do, which you cannot mitigate, which cannot avoid, which you cannot transfer. Either you have to live with it, go ahead with the project, facing that vehement protest or vehement negative risk that comes around it, and work accordingly. Now, positive risk opportunities is exploit them. In case if you have certain things, because of certain unplanned event happens, which is not at all detrimental to you. Maybe it is, you can plan it and take advantage about it, exploit it, share your experiences definitely, and enhance the ambience of the project altogether, enhance the objective, enhance the scope, enhance the positivity among the community, among the stakeholders, and so on and so forth. So plan those risk responses, be it negative, be it positive. Look for the opportunities, mitigate those threats. And we have already said about strength, weakness, threat. The last step is monitor and control risk, is all about risk assessment. Now, how do you go around the risk assessment? Is to have a schedule regularly to identify risk. Now, how do you schedule it? Is you have a huddle at the end of the day, probably, if not at the end of the day, at the end of the week. So this is a must thing, where everybody will come forward with the probable problems that they have faced, or the solution that they are going to seek. We can have an audit around it, which can be regular audit or a preventive audit altogether, so that it eliminates any sort of hindrance to the project implementation. So that is what we are looking into. We will be much more effective in our planned risk responses. Trend analysis is monitor overall project performances. Yes, definitely yes. So how do we monitor and control risk? Number one, reassessment of risk. Number two is auditing of the risk, and last but not the least would be the analysis. So what are the benefits? Let us understand what are the benefits. First is an optimum utilization of resources, be it men, money, or material. So whatever you're looking into it, optimum utilization. Promoting of continuous or incremental improvement, definitely yes, we are looking at a upgradation every now and then comes the fewer shock and failure. Now, what is fewer shock and failure? Is where people will not be jerked around, they will not have a surprise element in their implementations, in their operations. Strategic business planning is one of them benefited. You can actually think of growing your business in a bigger fashion if everything goes in the proper shape. Why not? And the raise awareness of significant risk that keeps on happening around it. This is of vital importance. That is what we are looking out. So, what are the benefits? One of the best benefit is to have a quick grasp of new opportunities that comes around it. Now, I am sure with every risk there are opportunities that can be determined. You just have to hunt for those opportunities to yourself. Enhancing communication, yes. One of the most best thing that comes around or mitigating risk is clarify your position, be transparent about your operation, reassuring the stakeholders about their uh, objectives being achieved, about their fact that they need to be reassured that yes, it is not going to affect them in any fashion, any negative fashion altogether. So reassuring your stakeholders from time to time. Possible, if possible, please partner with them, please make them a partner in the implementation process. That's the best way to assimilate everyone under one platform. Focus on the internal audit program, and recognize responsibility and accountability. This is of an utmost important, wherein every person comes to become the owner of a problem, the owner of an implementation, and please acknowledge them. Acknowledgement is very true, very sure a way to keep them motivated and partnered in the implementation project. So we come to the last very slide. We can always go for a manual intervention, but yes, even a software can go around it. There are many software. For example, MS Project is one of the software that goes work very nicely with it. I am in complete awe of the project management software Primavera. Primavera works wonderfully well, and one can utilize it and get the paid subscription model to it. Keep a track of the issues. What does the software tells me? It tells me everything about the productivity. It tells me what are going right, what are we utilizing, what are the resources quantity that we have been consuming, the health of the project, and most importantly track overall project progress in terms of any deviations. If so, the software will give me the right signal and the dashboard. Thereby the dashboard will tell you everything, stated it in black and white for you to understand what is going right and take appropriate decisions. With this, I come to an end of this presentation. Thank you for watching this video.